Hello there, Internet, and welcome to the third episode of Amplified.radio with the CEO of Conjugate, Mark E., aka literally me. And what I want to talk about today is specifically that. Conjugate. Moreover, what I want to talk about is the dynamic effort method, and while you don't see it in my programs all that often, however, there are some circumstances in which it shows up. So let's define a couple terms here. When I'm talking about a conjugate template, at least in the context of this podcast, we're looking at a bog standard conjugate workout. So that's 2 max effort days, 2 dynamic effort days. So, you got upper, lower, lower, upper, whatever your training week looks like. With that being said, so dynamic effort. When I talk about dynamic effort, what I'm specifically referring to is speed work with accommodating resistance. This is very common, especially in equipped lifting. You're seeing it more and more in raw lifting, especially if you're looking at West Side templates, stuff like banded squats, chain bench press, etc., etc. Now, the reason why you don't see me put this in programs very often is I'm of the opinion that accommodating resistance is not necessarily the most useful tool for a raw lifter. And let me dive into this a bit further. If we look at equipped lifting, which is really where Conjugate first had its heyday thanks to Louis Simmons and the West Side barbell method, a lot of equipped lifts, where do they miss? They miss high. They miss towards the end range of a movement. So an equipped squat, equipped bench press, and the equipped deadlift. Most failure occurs more towards lockout. Whereas with raw lifting, which is what most of us are doing, where does misses tend to occur? More towards the mid-range to the bottom. So what happens there is by using accommodating resistance for general work, you're just essentially creating a redundant strength curve where you're making it harder where you're actually strongest in raw lifting, because in equipped, you have the suits to help you get that pop out of the bottom, right? So instead of using dynamic effort as the typical secondary day, what I like to do is what I call developmental days. And what I look at here is, what are we trying to develop for the individual lifter? This is a case-by-case thing. So, for example, let's say that I have a guy who's just looking to develop his squat. We're not necessarily chasing a 1RM right now, but we need to build up his form and his technique. Rather than do something like 12 sets of 2 with bands, every minute on the minute squats, I would look to something more like 8 triples at 70 to 80%, slowly adding weight each week across maybe a 3 to 5 week wave. This is strength skill work. This is closer to the traditional dynamic effort method, but because we're working at a higher percentage, it'll have more transference over to his technique that he's going to use with the main lift, in this case, the squat. Additionally, it lets him get a lot of volume without too many reps per set, so it's going to help keep that form more crisp and really good also for overhead press, especially on a clean and press for you strongman sorts out there. So strength skill is one thing that I'll use, and that's probably what I reach for more often than not. The second one I like to reach for is step loading. And this is something such as 3 sets of 10 one week, then 4 sets of 8, and then 5 sets of 6. And you might take 5% jumps every week. And the idea here is step loading gets a little bit heavier each week, but reduces the amount of reps per set. But you're still in the same overall bar park in terms of reps overall completed in the workout. Step loading is honestly one of those you can't go wrong, just a good classic progression. It's been around forever. This is something I'll run in an off season, or if it's just one of those situations wherein the athlete just needs some touches. Really great for hypertrophy too, 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 8, and heck, even the 5 sets of 6. You're getting a lot of quality volume in there, and unlike the strength skill, because you're getting more reps per set, generally you'll get a little bit more muscle tension, so you get that slightly closer proximity to failure. You're going to generate more fatigue, so some hypertrophic benefits there. Some other things you can look at doing is something like density work, where it's 18 minutes and they're trying to get however many reps. Next week might be 16 minutes and they try to match that amount, because what that's going to do is force them to work a little faster, a little harder, gets more volume in less time, thus more density, so potentially more mechanical tension on those muscles. And then another option, my personal favorite, especially for the ground to overhead work, is flow state work, where you might have them do a clean 3 press, walk away, do a few pull-ups, come back, clean, 3 press, do that for 18 minutes, and then every 5 sets you might add a little bit of weight. Week to week, maybe adding just a little bit of weight across a 3 to 8 week wave. The idea with any of these approaches, whether it be the strength skill, the step load, the flow state, or density work, is it gives the athlete a chance to practice the main lift in such a way that is more conducive to what we're trying to extract out of them based on the phase of training. And then conversely, if we look at their max effort days, this is the day where I'm going to pick variations that attack their weak link. So if I have an athlete who is, for example, a little weak towards lockout on their strict press, their max effort days, I might have them push press And then on their developmental days, we're going to have them step load with the strict press. And what that does is it gives them 2 touches with that overhead pattern. And by using the push press on intensive day, it's a heavier day because we naturally overload thanks to the leg drive. So their triceps have to work a little bit harder. This is just an example of how you can tweak Conjugate to be applicable towards many goals. Now, let's say we got a guy who's just looking to build muscle mass. His upper body developmental day is our standard bench press. Upper body intensive, we might be doing close grip bench press or even dumbbell inclines for a higher rep max. So you can see what this allows us to do is create a more cohesive template that's very specific to the individual athlete and their needs. When you look at a Conjugate template, don't just look up what Westside's doing, right? There's multiple ways to skin the cat, and what you want to do is find a way that gets you excited to train, that you're going to relentlessly attack progression and keep getting better. And hey, if you're looking to really step up your Conjugate game, well, I happen to be in really good at the CEO of Conjugate. And until next time, you folks have a great time. Train hard, stay safe.